Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. I am Darian, and today I want to talk to you guys about perfectionism, because I believe that this is something that is holding so many people back from where they need to be or where they desire to be. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so this topic is near and dear to my heart because I have been someone who has severely struggled with trying to be perfect, trying to do everything right, and trying to get the best results every time, which is not a bad thing. Of course, we want the best results, but when it becomes a thing where you're stressing yourself out and you're not able to actually function at the best capacity because you're stressed out and you're worried about making it perfect, that can be a problem. So the fact that I have been able to overcome a life of me just trying to do everything perfect, I believe that other people can be broken from this too. So I believe that the first thing you're gonna have to do is to truly admit that you're that person. If you are that person that struggles with trying to be perfect or perfectionism. The interesting thing about it was that it was hard for me to admit it at first, but when I did, it was freeing because then I can start operating in my life from a different place of realizing that I don't have to be perfect, because it's impossible for me to be perfect. We're not here to be perfect. We're here, yes, to work towards getting it right each and every day. But when you understand that you're human, that we all have flaws, that we're not going to be 100% perfect in our lives, it just takes off this heavy weight. And so once that happened, I was able to actually be more effective in how I move forward with things in my life. If you find yourself often feeling like in order to complete things and get things done that need to get done, it's always very rigid and there's a lot of control aspect there, and you don't really give yourself grace or room to kind of figure things out. You're trying to just get to this perfected idea when it comes to everything in life. You may actually be dealing with this. And what I have found is that there's usually a root to it. Like for me, when it came time for me to get free from trying to be perfect and do everything perfect, I realized that it was tied back to my childhood. And there were some things that happened to me in my younger years that made me feel like I needed to be perfect in order to get the results that I felt like I was supposed to get. So for me, that was tied to rejection. Because I felt rejected at a young age, I felt that if I did everything perfectly, that would allow me to feel that I was loved more, or accepted more, or received more. And then so as I got older, that continued to be a pattern in my life. And I actually realized now, looking back, that it was actually just stressing me out. I was still going to get done what I needed to be done, but it actually was limiting my creativity. Trying to do everything perfect and have it in this rigid way, and trying not to venture out because you're scared that if you do, it might ruin something, or it may not be this perfect thing that can actually limit your creativity. When you want to be creative, you want to float in that creative space and leave a little room for changes sometimes, depending on what it is and depending on if you are able to do that in whatever environment you may be working in. But I'm just speaking in general. When you hinder creativity, it can actually work against you, because we are meant to be creative. Being creative allows you to build more, make more. So let's say we specifically want to speak about perfectionism from a place of, like, maybe you have a channel, and before you start your channel, you feel like you have to have everything looking perfect. You feel like you have to have all your ducks in a row. Instead of just starting with your videos and then gradually increasing, you not just starting can actually hinder you from reaching that audience that you may want to reach in the timing that you could have reached them, because all this time you spent worrying and trying to make sure everything was perfect, that time could have been spent actually reaching more people. Of course, with life, you never know how it can go. So things can end up working out, but you never know what. Trying to control the outcome by trying to be perfect, you never know what that can actually be holding you back from. I found that when I operated from that place of me trying to be perfect in my life, I actually was wasting more time because I was leaving myself in this rigid space. And when that didn't work and I continued to try to do things in one way, I didn't leave much room again for that creativity to flow, for me to figure out other ways that I could make things work out. So if you're a person who feels like you are struggling with trying to be perfect or this perfectionism, I would say that it probably would be beneficial for you to sit down and trace back where you feel like it all started. Trace back where you feel like you started to feel like you had to operate from this way or place in order to get whatever it may have been in life, or what caused you to pick up these habits. I like to live my life in a place where I feel that if I feel overly stressed or that I'm overexerting myself but I'm not seeing the results that I want to see, that's a good sign for me to know that I am probably being harder on myself or doing more than I should be doing. Or maybe I need to change things around and try to see another way that will work for me. And sometimes when you are stuck in that place of wanting to do things perfect, it can be harder for you to pivot and move and try different things because you may think that this is the only way in order for it to be perfect or in order to achieve certain results. So just as I spoke about rejection, some people, them trying to be perfect could be rooted from a place of control. Maybe they don't feel like they have that full control over their lives. So trying to control things and make things appear perfect and keep things in this perfect place, which, let's be real about life. Life can sometimes just go in a way that we don't even imagine. That alone can disrupt whatever perfected idea we may have created when it comes to life. And so when you are operating from a place where everything is super rigid, it can make it harder to pivot with life when things are changing, or when life just happens, it can make it harder to actually adjust and move forward in life. You may find that you may feel stuck in life because that sense of control that you may have had in life before may end up going in a different way from trying to make everything perfect and trying to control everything. I have found that when people aren't as willing to admit that their life is not perfect, is usually because their life may actually be the opposite of that. It may actually be chaotic and hectic. If not just in a general sense, it could be in certain areas of life. And so that sense of trying to control and that sense of trying to be perfect may give a false sense of having it all together. So I believe that once you're able to actually identify and admit that you may be operating from this place and then address the roots, I feel that it can make it easier for you to move forward in life because now you know those different areas to tackle. So for instance, once I realized that a lot of me trying to control things and do things in this perfect way because I felt like me being perfect would get me more love. Once I identified that actually was not getting me more love, and I actually identified that it was coming from a place of feeling rejected, I am now able to change my mindset and change how I move in my life. So I don't have to overwork myself. Once I realized that it really wasn't getting me any more of a different reaction from the people in my life, I started to realize, why am I stressing myself out? Why am I overworking myself? Why am I going above and beyond in people's lives? Because it could show up as you trying to do everything for everybody and do it perfectly because you want them to like you or feel good about you. So there's different ways that it can actually show up in different people's lives. But once I was able to unpack that thing and address the root, I was able to let go of some things, start to move in a different way, and change some patterns. I even started to see that me battling with trying to be perfect and having that mindset was actually spilling over into my spiritual life. So I started to see God that way. I started to feel like I had to do everything perfect in life, also from a spiritual standpoint, or I might get punished. Or if I do mess up, then I started to think that that would upset God and that might take away my blessings. And so it allowed me to have a very toxic mindset when it came to my relationship with God. And so once I actually formed a true relationship with God, He was able to break down those things for me and allow me to be set free even in that way. And that leads me into pointing out that for some people, if you're watching this, maybe it could be tied to a place of fear that you feel like you have to do everything perfect. Do you feel like you're going to be reprimanded if you don't do everything perfectly? Or do you feel like you don't have any room for any mistakes because if you do mess up, it could lead you to being in trouble? So those are some things to think about. So I want to quickly touch on excellence versus perfectionism. So I absolutely believe that it is a good thing to strive for excellence. That is something that I feel like we should all strive for. And that is something that I feel like once we continue to work on being excellent, that it is going to end up paying off in the long run. But perfectionism comes from a different place. Perfectionism is driven usually from a negative place or a place of, like I mentioned earlier, it could be rejection, it could be fear, it could be control. And it doesn't feel good to feel hindered and stifled and in this place where you feel like you have to do things a certain way so it'll turn out perfect. But excellence is a way of just doing things to the best of your ability without that extra pressure of overworking yourself to get it done. Yes, you're putting in the work and yes, you're doing the best that you know to do, but it's not driven from a negative place. It's driven from a good place, a positive place, and just wanting to see the best results. So I absolutely for sure believe that there is a difference, and I absolutely believe that excellence is worth working towards. So now that I have shifted things in my life from trying to do things out of perfectionism and moved to doing things out of excellence, I have found that it's easier to get things done. I have found that I'm actually in a very creative place in life now versus being stifled and feeling like I'm overstructured. I now feel like I can move from a more creative space. I now feel like I can get things done without feeling condemned as I am doing things, or if I mess up in one place, not feeling condemned because I know that I can try again, or I can do things again, or I can try a different way and see if that works out better. Have you just seen someone who just radiates excellence? They're not perfect, but you don't necessarily see all their flaws, but you can look at them and just see excellence. That is what I love to operate from now. And that feels good to know that you are putting in work, to know that you are putting effort, but you're not stressing yourself out to see this excellent place. I absolutely believe it's a great thing to better yourself in life and work towards being excellent. And then the last thing I want to touch on is to just give a reminder that It's not good to compare yourself to other people. I know that everyone is painting this perfect picture of their life, whether it's on social media, whether it's behind the scenes. Maybe you just have certain friends or people that you're around and they're painting maybe that their life is perfect and they don't go through things or they haven't gone through things. The reality is that we all go through things in life. We all go through things in life. Some people just choose not to be genuine about the things that they have endured and suffered in life. And they have that option to do. That is their life, that is their choice. But don't make it a thing where you're comparing your life to others, even the people that are in your life, because you don't know what they actually have struggled through. You may find that you could be comparing your life to someone who you would never want to walk in those shoes. But because they have painted this perfect picture of their life, you may feel like your life is worse or bad, or that maybe you've gone through some terrible things and, you know, life just hasn't been that great for you. I want to encourage you to focus on your own life. Focus on being the best version of yourself from a place of excellence. And don't allow comparison to pull you here and there. Most people are going to tell the best things about their life. That's human nature. We want people to see the best parts of us. We don't usually want people to see the worst parts of us. As people, we have a sense of pride. So don't allow that to make you feel like your life is not good enough, or because you don't feel like your life is perfect, which again, I want to remind you that nobody's life is perfect. Even if in their mind they believe that their life is perfect or they try to portray their life as perfect, I have gone through enough things in life to know that life is very unpredictable. And you never know how life can go, even if you try to control it, even if you try to keep things all together. You never know how life can go. So be encouraged and just doing your best and continuing on your path. And if you feel like you're struggling with being perfect and perfectionism, I hope that you do find that place of breakthrough and breaking free. I have, and I believe that you also can experience that. So I hope that the things that I have mentioned today, if you feel like you're struggling with that, have given you some insight for your own life. I thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.